20% savings, it's a lot of money. Of course, the businessmen know this, but for the younger people, this is a lot of money. And with this money, you can save a lot more lives. Okay, so like everything, we had to improve the model, think about different things. For example, what happens when you mix more ocean and airplane? If you use airplane, it's more expensive to ship, but the lead time is shorter. If lead time is shorter, the forecasting gets better, and you may need less inventory. So a lot of things are there, and we use this. The complication is a lot of this happens with real data. Also, the tracking gets complicated because shipping in these countries is very expensive. You see, look at that. You have fuel, tires, maintenance, and bribes. We actually account for the bribes you have to pay. Well, you have to, either you ignore the problem, or you take it, you accept it. I'm not a social scientist. I just take the number and calculate. And you face the way it is. In science, you have to tell it like it is. In the end, also, this is what happens too. If the cost of fuel changes, the whole model may change. So you have to think creatively, and so forth. I don't want to go into the details. Let's cut to the chase. You heard me long enough. I hope I didn't put you to sleep. I did my best not to. I didn't show that much mathematics, although there's a lot of math behind each one of the things we do. I don't think we have to brag about it. Yes, I can do mathematics, maybe not as well as Mr. Nash, who's a lot smarter mathematically than I am. But we are MIT. MIT is the best school of engineering in the world, maybe. So we can do mathematics. But to do what? I wanted to tell you where we use the mathematics, with which purpose, and how my personal life story changed because of logistics, and how maybe your story can change. So go around the world, be happy, do whatever it is that you want to do. But it's okay to change your mind. And one day, young or old, if you remember science, do come back. We need help. And in particular in logistics, like I and Enzo told you, what we do for a living, first of all is, yes, La Nonna may be right. Sometimes science doesn't advance. Sometimes not as fast as we would want to. But in certain areas, for example in health, it's hard to argue. Science is progressing. The problem is now, how do we make everyone progress at the same speed? So if we solve that problem, it's not just because of them, the poor, the far away, the needy. It will also make your life better in many ways. A lot of the pressure that we have today in Europe, in Spain, in Italy, in the United States, comes from imbalances in the lifestyle of different people and different countries, and this creates tension. If everyone is happy, everything is easier. We can't treat and cure happiness, we can't create happiness, but at least we can help pick one problem, we can help in health. We have money now. In the old days, there was no money, so maybe that's another good way of helping. Go make a lot of money like Mr. Viterbi, and then help like Mr. Viterbi, like Fondazione Italcementi, help afterwards, after you made your money. There is a way, and I respect and appreciate that, like Mr. Gates, and so forth. Go make your money, and then remember that you're a human being, and help. Or, once the money is there, try to help use that money in a smarter way. And if you really care about details that most people ignore, and in particular you're a practical person, well, here is a science of delivery, logistics, what we do. We like mathematics, we like details, but we like to apply it. And to apply it to problems that end up in the end being practical. So we're back to a humanist approach. We thank a lot our smarter brothers sometimes, Mr. Nash, and a lot of incredibly brilliant men and women who are contributing to science. But we take that part and we work on the much more complicated side of it, which is we try to apply it to human relations, human situations. That's what supply chain management is, and that's what we're honored to do, at least try to contribute in. Thank you very much for inviting me here. And if you have any questions, I don't know if you have time for questions. It's difficult to ask a question in front of so many people. You feel, what if I ask a stupid question, right? I don't know how much time we have.
5 minutes, I think.
Yes. Sir. Italiano va bene. Se non capisco li...
I translate for you.
Sì. Allora, secondo me il problema per quanto riguarda l'Africa è che i paesi occidentali dovrebbero cercare di investire sull'autosufficienza dei paesi africani, cioè cercare di far sì che i paesi africani non siano continuamente dipendenti dai paesi occidentali. Questa è la premessa. E per quanto riguarda i trasporti, non potrebbe essere meglio far sì che, appunto, per quanto riguarda l'autosufficienza, i paesi africani producessero loro stessi le medicine che gli servono, per esempio, per trattare l'HIV, l'AIDS, magari in paesi politicamente stabili, però così abbassando chiaramente i costi dei trasporti.
So, first of all, that's a very good question. Good. In fact, it deserves an applause. Thank you. Yeah. In fact, a lot of smart people are trying to help exactly in that question. Like everything is complicated, but so first, places where this is already happening. For example, malaria. Let's pick another of the big 3 killers of humankind: tuberculosis, malaria, and HIV. Malaria. In the case of malaria, there is either you treat it after you have the disease, or you prevent the disease, let's say, by a much less disputed method than with HIV, which is a mosquito net. So to prevent malaria, you need a mosquito net that doesn't get you in trouble with with anyone. The mosquito nets actually are not so easy to produce because they are technically complicated, because they have inside of the mosquito net there's a chemical compound. The chemical compound is a mosquito repellent. That was being produced on a massive scale by Sumitomo Corporation in Japan. It's a complicated polymer with this chemical. So the argument was, we have to produce it here because it's so complicated. But Sumitomo Corporation themselves thought about it, thought exactly what you were saying, and they figured a way of producing in Africa. And they're successfully producing today in Africa. So that's an example where you're absolutely right. However, that doesn't work equally well, and that doesn't necessarily travel well with all compounds. Some compounds, the supply chain, I only showed you what's called, let's say, the downstream supply chain. Now, to produce, for example, the malaria medicine, you need to plant a special kind of anise plant that today only grows in China, that we're beginning to learn how to grow. Maybe we can grow it in South America. And then the processes, some parts of the process are so complicated that they can only be done in one place. So it is not like, for example, assembling a machine where they can send you the parts and you just assemble. This is chemical compounds. In that case, unfortunately, it is not feasible. However, in the spirit of your question, if it's not feasible to produce the medicine and to control for the quality, here's another problem. In medicine, quality matters a lot more than in other areas. And if anyone thinks that with your money, for example, in Fondazione Italcementi wants to help, and maybe they hear your question, the intelligent man, that's a good question, and maybe they want to put a factory in an African country. But if for whatever reason the quality is not good, Fondazione Italcementi will get blamed. The newspapers will say, the Fondazione is giving the poor bad medicine. And it is worse, you're trying to help and you get in trouble. So because of that, sometimes it's necessary to have it in very controlled environments, which complicates matters. But sometimes what you're saying of the sustainability happens in indirect ways. Let me give you an example. In Mozambique, the vaccines are being distributed by this company that was founded by the wife